fellow Toastmaster people, comrades, brothers and sisters. I'm talking tonight about the Iranian nuclear program. And the mantra that has to lead the negotiations that are going on right now between the P5+1 and Iran, is that no deal is better than a bad deal. And what I mean by that, there are three main points that I want to discuss this evening. One is that no deal is better than a bad deal, in the sense that a bad deal would increase proliferation in the region. A bad deal would bolster the Iranian hegemony in the region. And number three, the third point is that if the P5+1 signs a bad deal with Iran, that what's going to happen is that the credible military threat is going to be taken off the table. So point number one, proliferation. Problem is that if U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was speaking last month about Iran at the Senate, and he said something like this. He said that if we can dismantle enough centrifuges, and if we can get enough enriched uranium out of Iran, to the point where if Iran were to make a dash for the bomb, it would take them between 6 months and a year, then that would be enough from our point of view. That would be an incredible improvement. And he added the caveat that he's saying, I'm not saying this is what we're going to accept, but the implication was very clear. In other words, it seems as though the United States and perhaps the other members of the P5+1, P5+1, by the way, P5 are the five regular members of the U.S. Security Council, which are UN, that's the United States, Russia, China, and there's France and the UK, plus Germany. So if the U.S. is willing to accept Iran as a threshold state, a threshold nuclear state, that means that we're going to see proliferation of the region. Other states, for instance, like the Saudis, are going to see that since the P5+1 accepted Iran as a threshold state, they're going to want it also. They're going to want the same situation for themselves. The Saudis have the money and the ability to not necessarily develop their own nuclear program. They could buy a bomb off the shelf, so to speak, from the Pakistanis. Could be that Turkey and the Egyptians will also want to develop their own nuclear programs as well. They say, if Iran can, so can we. So that's going to cause a nuclear race in the region, very problematic. So that's proliferation. The second issue, Iranian hegemony, which is a situation where the very fact that the P5+1 are in the election in Iran now, the Islamic Republic. The Islamic Republic, by the way, is totalitarian theocracy that kind of uses violence to enforce Sharia law. So the very fact that they're negotiating with these people lends a certain amount of legitimacy. If they actually sign a deal with them, that's going to increase, it's going to empower them much more. Now, they're already involved in almost every conflagration in the region. If you look at Syria, the Iranians are involved there, supporting Assad. If you look at what's going on even in Iraq, I mean, up until the United States pulled out, they were killing U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Now they're behind, it looks like they're getting closer to the Shiite majority there. Bahrain is a state which, for Iran, is like Kuwait was for Iraq. So they have designs there as well. It's a regime that has aspirations of expansion, etc. So with a nuclear bomb, it's not necessarily that Iran, or reaching a situation where they're a threshold nuclear state, it's not necessarily a situation where Iran will be able to or want to use a bomb, even though they have the ability now with missiles to hit almost any capital in the air, in the region. But the very fact that they have it gives them a nuclear umbrella. All their proxies, if you look at the situation, once again, in Syria would be tremendously more complicated if you have Iran involved there, Iran with nuclear capability involved in Syria. Closer to home, to our north, you have Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been trained and armed by Iran. They have like 100,000 rockets and missiles that they can point at us. Most of them have been supplied by Iran, the know-how and stuff. So you have the Islamic Jihad in Gaza, which also has very close ties with Iran. And up until not too long ago, they had a fallout over Syria, but Hamas also had good ties with Iran as well. So that's a very problematic situation. And if we were attacked, or any other country were attacked, like a Sunni Muslim state that were attacked by Iran, you'd have to think twice before retaliation. Look at what happened to Libya, or Iraq, or Pakistan. I'm sorry, not Pakistan, Afghanistan. And look what didn't happen to North Korea. And it's simply because of the fact that North Korea has nuclear capability and these other countries didn't. So that's the problem generally. The third problem is by signing a deal, basically we're taking a credible military threat against Iran off the table. As soon as the deal is signed, 5+1 countries are not going to launch a military strike against Iran. Obviously, they don't deal with them. Unless there's this flagrant, violation of the agreement, we're not going to see any kind of military movement. Israel, it's going to be much more complicated for Israel. Already, Israel's military capacity to actually knock out or destroy totally the nuclear program there is limited. If a deal is signed, a bad deal is signed with Iran, then it makes it much more difficult for us to stage an attack against Iran. So just to wrap up, the three things. Number one, a bad deal is worse than a good deal, or no deal is better than a bad deal because it causes proliferation. No deal is better than a bad deal because it would strengthen Iranian hegemony. And no deal is better than a bad deal because it would take a credible military threat off the table. Thanks.